guys? Welcome back to another Counter-Strike Go edition of our esports breakdown here at Fantasy Sports Insight. I am Hold the Door DFS, also known as Chris, and we are getting an 8-game main slate tomorrow for Counter-Strike, and literally every game starts at the same time in the morning. So it's going to be pretty insane. I don't know what the streaming is going to be like and if there's going to be streaming available for everything, but we got best of threes. I mean, this is crazy, but it's going to be really fun. I don't think the pricing is really that great. And if you are watching, and hopefully you gain a little bit of an edge by this, but Bovada and some of the other popular books aren't really posting odds at this moment for the Counter-Strike Summit tomorrow. So here at gg.bet, somewhere that I like to go to for my esports odds, just because they do seem to have some of the unique contests posted that might be different than the mainstream sportsbook. So we have some massive favorites in this first 8-game slate, as you probably already have noticed just by not recognizing all the opponents that have been that would not have been on a regular slate. So if you see here, I'll kind of go through each one, and then when we get to their builds, we really don't have to focus on a lot of these closer matchups just based on pricing. I mean, just we're getting an 8-game slate with huge favorites, no Simple, no Zywoo, no Nico. So it makes building pretty interesting. So OG coming in at minus 190 against Sprout. Big coming in as minus 500 against Havu, and they are the 4th biggest favorite on this main slate. Contact at minus 180 against Aves. Complexity, the biggest favorite on the slate, coming off of a huge Blast Premier Series win, minus 1250 against Jalapeno. Fnatic minus 830 against Norverdand. Dignitas minus 357 against Fate. Heroic minus 320 against Endpoint, and Mad Lions are not minus 900 against Pact. So when we go to our builds here, I'm going to hop over to Draftkings. I'm only right now highlighted on the teams that the top 6 favorited teams here, just to look at a cash build. Obviously, you can certainly play Contact. You could even play, some underdogs here, Contact, or you can go OG, maybe in some GPPs. But I'm just not really finding any reason to go that way, especially in cash. So let's start just kind of at the top here. Blame F obviously has played incredible, not only just in the last Blast series, but played really well at Road to Rio, played really well at the DreamHack event. He's just been their most consistent player. I think Config will see some ceiling maps, but not as many ceiling games per se. So we see one really good map and then finds himself in the bottom 2 of the team, even in a win on the next map. So a little less consistent with Config, but I think the price is obviously starting to now reflect that. I think when they both were priced too closely together, it was really easy just to pivot up to Blame F. So Complexity being the biggest favorite on the slate, we got Blame F at 9,000. We have Config, the next most expensive player, at 7,800. Oboe at 7,600, and then we have Poison down at 7K, which is a really nice price tag, and even Rush at 5,200. Now Rush has been awful, even in their wins. From a DFS perspective, sorry, I should say that, but he is, about as much guaranteed a sweep here as you're going to get. So you will probably get that free 20 points for him in that second match. So I do think he's viable at 5,200. I just don't know that you really have to go there. Even if you're paying up for Blame F or you don't have to use him in the captain role. But so my favorite plays in Complexity would be Blame F, Config, and then Poison I really like for 7K. I think that's probably one of the better values of the slate. Heroic is coming in again at minus 320. Staven has been kind of the staple for them here recently. He was somebody that was actually priced incorrectly to start most of these tournaments, and then his performance finally, was continued to be consistent. So his price, met up with his performance. So 8,800, I think he's viable. It's not like my favorite play. I mean, if you're stacking Heroic, a 3-man stack, that's totally fine. I just think for 200 more, I like Blame F a little bit better as a way bigger favorite. So, and then next on Heroic, we actually don't get our next player for Heroic until we scoot down here to Nico at 7,200, which I really like for his price. Cadian as well at 6,800, I think is a really good play. And even Tessus is viable at 6,200. So I think Heroic is in play. Probably not the team I'm going to use in cash, but definitely somebody you can consider. Oh, I skipped over. Okay. Let's go to Fnatic next, which I think will be a pretty popular stack, even though Nordovan is not just a cakewalk usually in their tier of competition. But Fnatic, we're getting Brawlin as the most expensive player at 8,400. I think he'll be a really great play for that price, along with Crims, who I love at 7,800. I mean, we did get this price increase, but then, when they're minus, 830 favorites, it's back down to where we love to see the $7,600 and $7,800 Crims. So I do like that two-man stack with Crims and Brawlin. JW is always a viable punt, 7,200. There's just a couple players I like a little bit better around him. And then Golden at 6K, probably a pass for me, but I do really like Brawlin and Crims as my two favorite Fnatic players. Now, when you think about builds tomorrow, with such massive favorites, I think a 2-2-2 with three massive favorites is fine. If you want to go 3-3, that's probably going to be really safe because you can obviously easily go 3-3 complexity in Mad Lions or complexity in Fnatic or Mad Lions and Fnatic, however you are even using big. So I don't think you should be afraid of using players from three teams. There's no really reason for me to one-off here unless you're just one-offing with somebody from a big favorite, but I do like the correlated success. So Fnatic is one of my top options of the slate. So I'm just going to click off of them and complexity just so we can see what players we have left. Dignitas, Forrest with a massive beard, if you ever get to watch him. He's pretty good, and he's just been relatively inconsistent. Don't go basically just off these because this is what a lot of those best of ones. He had some good maps in there, and he's decent. Again, it just price relative. We're pricing him really close to Brawlin and Blame F. With those two players, I prefer over Forrest. Halzerk at 7,800 is viable. I'm not as high on Get Right at 7,600. And Freiberg is a pass for me at 6,700. And then the last is, I think it's Zizit at 5,600 is a pass for me too. So let's click off Dignitas. Now, Mad Lions, one of my favorite plays on the slate. I love Bubsky for 8,400. Again, if I'm rating, I'm in that range, Blame F, Brawlin, and Bubsky. My three favorite players in that range, along with Searson, who we'll get to in the last with the last team here. Acor, his price has increased from the 6,400 he sat at forever, but I still really think at 7,400 he's a really good value, along with Sush. So again, that's a really easy three-man stack that I like. Asilian has had some good matches, but he really is the brains behind the operation, so I kind of prefer to stay away from him in these situations. And Roger is also viable, but he always tends to seem a little bit more map specific for his success. And I do think the map predictability may be a little bit more unpredictable with these matchups that you don't normally see, but I could be completely wrong on that. I mean, I think obviously teams are still wanting to pick the maps they're successful at. And then if we go to big, obviously Searson has the upside to basically be the top scorer on any slate with the AWP. He's just phenomenal. So I think at 8,400, again, he's another player I really like in that 8K price range. He would be, in that group of four with Blame F, Brawlin, Searson, and Bubsky. Tabson is viable as well. He's played really well lately, but I do really like the price tag on Zenartes at 7K. So I think, when you're thinking about value here, depending on who you use at captain, you don't have to go relatively far past 7K if you're not using like Blame F at captain. I think you can almost 2-2-2 or 3-3, using majority of those players. And if you need to, or majority from, anywhere down to that 7K, we're using Poison or Zenartes. I think Poison is probably my favorite punt at that price just because it's a better, bigger favorite, but big is minus 500 too. So I like him there as well. Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. I think if you start your builds with, even I would probably maybe look, something like Brawlin and Crims. And then if you're taking a couple from Complexity, whether it is, Blame F and, I don't even mind using like someone like Poison in the captain spot, but you don't have to, and then you could even stay off of Blame F and you could use, I think this is a matchup where, config would definitely do really well in that, you could definitely go that route. And then if you add in a couple Mad Lions players and then you're stacking the top 3 teams, you could easily go like an A-core captain and then finish off with Sush. You could go Bubsky captain, and then you'd have to go with someone cheaper like a Cillian. Again, you can work with these. You could go down from Brawlin to Flusha. You could put Poison at captain, and then that would allow you, I believe, to get Bubsky. And you are a little bit short to get A-core, but you could get Roger. So again, I think what I'm going to be I'll reword this, but I think the 2-2-2 stacks, I can get the players that I think I have the most upside in those games, considering they're all such big favorites. I think that might be a little bit more optimal. I think in cash might be safer if you just picking, 3-3 from, these top 3 favorites, just because you're going to get 20-point bonus for all those teams. But I would say this, that, because the pricing's so soft, people shouldn't be completely missing on this slate and stacking like a Nordavand or a Pact or a Jalapeno. So everybody's going to be in the same boat with stacking the favorited teams. So don't think that you're getting a huge edge by just punting with somebody just to get that 20 points, because there will be a lot of sweeps tomorrow. So I do think you want to look on an individual level and just see which players you think will perform best and who's playing really well. So that's the main slate. I'm not going to get into contrarian stacks here because I think, at least for my preference, I'm more of a cash player. And I think even GPPs, I don't think, if one team upsets another, there's too many big favorites that I think that will likely still be an optimal build and probably a GPP takedown. So, all right, I'm going to go to the other slate here, the North American slate. And that is going to be 4 games, which for those of you that are used to playing the Blast or the DreamHack, a little bit easier to just confine where your targets are going to be and not have to make so many decisions on where to put your exposure. So let's go down here. Again, we are at gg.bet. MIBR coming in at minus 625 against Chaos. Chaos, a team that we have seen be competitive against these really good teams. And MIBR got beat today by EG. So I like MIBR here. We'll look at the prices to kind of see how they stack up against somebody like Cloud9, who's my favorite team on this slate, playing the New England Whalers at minus 830. They're going to be the biggest favorite on this slate. Triumph at minus 588, almost a minus 600 favorite against Yeah Gaming. Played in Road to Rio. Played some competitive games as well. I think they might have even beat Cloud9 once, if I remember right. I know they took at least one map from Furia. So again, there's somebody that is viable. Triumph has played better recently, and we obviously know there's one player we want to target from their team. Envy at almost minus 300. Again, a team I think we saw at Road to Rio some, but no one that I'm like over the hills about, especially with these other 3 teams being bigger favorites here. So we have Zeppa as a massive underdog, coming in as the most expensive player on the slate. And then Pawn Alone is coming in as the second most expensive player, as the biggest underdog on the slate. So that's always fun to see that. And I think, it looks like in the DreamHack qualifier against C9, he went crazy. That's great, but that's not somebody that I'm looking to target right now. So let's get our favorites selected here, and then we will kind of go from there. And this one, yeah. All right, so Fallen at 9,400. I think the pricing is a little bit better for this slate, just relative to the main slate. A little bit more aggressive, but still a lot of gaps. Fallen at 9,400, I think, is viable. A little bit too expensive for me, just because I do think KNG and Fur offer similar upside for way cheaper price tags. Grim, I love. I know we know that he is below a tier of your Zywus and Simples and those, but for his level of competition, I like to compare him to someone like Shiro, who really is pretty dominant in most of the games that they play and can definitely carry a team. And now you put him as a pretty big favorite that should be a really successful matchup for him. But I love Floppy here at 9K, OC at 8,400. I was actually hoping that we'd get a little bit more of a discount on OC because I think I likely will for sure be using Floppy and try to get OC and even Grim. But it does force you to punt a little bit more on this slate than you would have on the main slate. But those are my three favorite plays in a vacuum right there. Fur at 8,200 is viable. KNG 8,000. Again, I was hoping to get more of a discount on these guys, but I do think Fur and KNG are certainly in play. Mishu played really well in their last tournament that we got to see them play. Road to Rio. If you just look at here, 107, 91, 75. I mean, he was really consistent and came on really late. Played really well in that tournament. So I do like Mishu. And remember, Envoy is almost a minus 300 favorite. So we do like him there as well. Then if we just keep looking, Nifty is in play. Sonic and Modem will be, I think, kind of popular punts for their prices. Oh, I forgot about Calix. Calix is awesome too. Again, he's just kind of jammed in the middle of other plays that I like better. So I probably won't be getting to him in cash. JT, I mean, you should almost be guaranteed a sweep here, but the price tag is cheap enough to consider, but man, he's pretty poor. Taco was their best player on the server today, so I guess he's always in play. TRK has been really popular lately as well. And then I think Triumph is kind of after Grim. It gets kind of messy. I think Spongy and Curry and Junior kind of find themselves in similar positions by, no one being the second best player on the team. They kind of take turns and rotate. So I think if you start with some of your studs on, with Grim, potentially Floppy and or OC. And I guess I could see where you maybe would only use one C9 if you were going to use Sonic and Modem as your like cheaper value plays. Pairing up with Floppy, you could do that. That would be a situation you would fade OC. And then Grim, obviously, he's got some cheaper options that you can pair with down here. And if you're going for Envoy, then I would look for like Mishu. And even Moose, I know played really well at Road to Rio and had some really nice games, 102 here, 64. So I think Moose is definitely viable here. I don't think it's a guaranteed sweep, but he's somebody that's certainly capable, even in a non-sweeping fashion. I think Taco as well and TRK. And Taco and TRK are probably a little bit safer punt plays just based on higher odds to sweep. But I don't really I do give Chaos some credit on how they played at DreamHack in that North American series. So I'm not totally on MIVR just sweeping. And I don't know how much kind of some of this fatigue sets in that MIVR, has played deeper into the last tournament, so I don't know if they get that fatigue that other sports players do when they, like I know tennis, somebody wins a tournament, and then a lot of times you see them withdraw out of the next tournament that they're entered in, or they are a late scratch or something just because they're fatigued, or you just see a poor performance in general. So I don't think we see that obviously as much using technology like this, but I do think there probably is some mental stress and fatigue that comes on these players that have been playing a lot of CSGO lately. So that's kind of where I would start your targeting on the late slate tomorrow. So we have a ton of Counter-Strike tomorrow. I'm just really pumped about it. I will get this posted to our website. And feel free to reach out to me for odds, questions, lineup advice. Give me, shoot me your lineup and say, hey, I'm looking. Is there somebody that you would upgrade, or is there a better team that you want me to target? I'm always willing to answer those questions. And you can get me easily in our Discord channel. Go to fsi.com, fsidfs.com. Subscribe for a free membership. And our man Eddie today took down one of the League of Legends slates. I think he chopped with a couple people, brought home 4K. So I mean, the room is popping. We have guys posting screenshots all day long for every esport out there, and it is completely free right now. So I would hop into one while it's free. So get in there, win some money, ask questions. Hope you win some cash tomorrow in CS:GO, and try to figure out how you're going to watch it all at once. That's what I'm going to be trying to figure out. So how do I sweat my lineups while also, being able to watch it? And I just don't know how the streaming is going to look tomorrow. So good luck to everybody. Thanks a lot.